I had dinner at home 2 nights ago. We cooked a bunch of rockfish, fresh rockfish, and we had so much of it, the last batch I forgot about, and it was actually under a Komodo barbecue and with a cover, and so I didn't see it, I forgot about it. But what's so wonderful is it still tastes great, even though it's 2 days old, wasn't in a fridge, it just was sitting on the salt block. But salt is antimicrobial, and you of course preserve food with salt, so it's safe to eat. So this is a great option to use a salt block for emergency preparedness, for recreation, and it's the best tasting grill there is, in my opinion. So we're going to start off with cleaning the salt block, and then we'll put it on the Hunter stove. It could be any of our stoves. We'll get it up to temperature and cook a couple crab cakes. Okay, so I understand we're at the Silver Fire shop, so this isn't a professional kitchen or anything. We don't have a lot of professional cooking utensils here. So we're going to grab our shop spatula, our big one. This is our big shop spatula here. And we're going to clean this salt block. We'll take it like this, and I'm simply going to first take the salt block off the old foil. I'm going to take the spatula and scrape all the debris that was on top of the stove. So that's all I'm doing to prepare it, is I'm just going to scrape it down on my spatula, get rid of all the junk that was on it from my cooking session a couple nights ago that I forgot about. The correct technique is to clean it after it's cool and store it dry, which I failed to do. So now we're going to go inside, and I'll show you how I would clean it up if it had been cool under a normal process. Okay, here we are inside the Silver Fire Gourmet kitchen sink here. You can see here we have the salt block down in the sink. So what we're going to do is clean the salt block and pretend that this was cool and we had just got done cooking, and you saw outside we scraped the debris. So all I'm going to do is simply take a Scotchgard pad like this. I'll dampen it a little bit and just simply rub it around vigorously and clean it off. Now this salt block here actually has a fissure right down the middle. If it cracks and falls apart later, who cares? It'll work for years and keep working. So that's just a cosmetic issue. We don't warranty them again, because all salt has natural fissures. This is Himalayan salt from the mountains of Pakistan. It imparts a wonderful flavor to your food. So we're going to go ahead now and put it on the stove and get it going. So what I'm going to do is wrap this foil around the stove, and that's going to around the salt block, and put it on top of the stove, and that's going to serve 2 purposes. It's going to catch any excess drippings from the food coming off the salt block, and it'll also dampen the heat. And I'll have less of a chance to crack the salt block. So we're going to go ahead and put that right on top of the stove, and that's going to take several minutes to get up to temperature to start cooking on our stove here. And we use the Hunter chimney stove for this video, but it could have been any of our stoves, the Super Dragon or our bigger stoves. Or it could be anything that's going to transfer heat, a gas range, a gas barbecue, charcoal barbecue, so on and so forth. Here we are, and as I mentioned, we're going to cook some wonderful Oregon Dungeness crab cakes. All I'm going to do is take my oil. Now, what I found in the shop was some olive oil, so that this is going to suffice. So I'm going to pour some olive oil on the fish cakes. That's all I'm going to do. And the only reason I'm doing that, just like I would with the a cast iron skillet, I want my surface oiled. And I found instead of oiling the salt block directly, it's just easier to oil the food itself, and then it won't stick as we cook on the salt block. So that is that simple. There's nothing to it. Just oil your food, put it on the salt block and flip it is all you need to do. Now we're going to test the salt block for temperature to see if it's ready. Right now we've had it on the stove about 20 minutes, but it's warm today, and I'm just going to drop some water on the salt block, and you can see it evaporating there, and that's telling me that the salt block's ready to cook on. Okay folks, we've determined that the salt block is ready. We dropped a little bit of water on the grill and it immediately evaporated, indicating that the grill is now hot enough to cook on. So we have our crab cakes that we've put olive oil on it, and we're simply just going to lay them on the salt block. And then we're only going to flip them once is the key, so they don't become too salty. Just a nice metered, wonderful flavoring of the crab cakes. So folks, you can see how easy this is. Treat the salt block just like it's a piece of cast iron. All you're doing is transferring heat to your meat, your vegetables, or whatever, and we'll simply flip it. And obviously a dense piece of meat is going to flip a little easier than a crab cake made out of little particles of Dungeness crab. And that's all there's to it. Okay folks, you can see there's nothing intimidating about salt block cooking. All you're doing is transferring heat to the salt block just like a piece of cast iron, except for it's giving you a wonderful Himalayan salt seasoning at the same time. And I'm gonna go enjoy my wonderful Dungeness crab cakes. Thanks folks.